again, my lovelies, and welcome back to the kitchen. I am your food designer Arlene, and you know we're here trying to hook up the trendy Caribbean stuff and the traditional stuff. Today, however, we are doing something traditional but also something very sentimental to me. We are making fried bakes, or floats as some of us call it here in Trinidad. This is a very simple recipe and it's very close to my heart. It took me years to get this recipe because my mom is one of those people that cooks with love. There is no measurement. It's a pinch of this, a smokes of that, an end of this, and this was a very hard recipe for me to get, but I'm happy to say that I finally got it years later, and I'm going to share it with you. So into my mixer, and of course you can mix this recipe by hand, just be very light. I'm doing it with my dough hook attachments, and we're going to start with flour, some baking powder, some yeast, and of course a little bit of shortening. So some people would put margarine and shortening. I just use shortening only because we're going to fry it, so we're going to cut down as much as possible, try to make it as healthy as possible. Another health tip, if you want, you can put a little bit of whole wheat. You don't need to adjust anything else, just sprinkle a little wheat in there and you should be fine. So we're going to let this spin around and let some air get into the flour. We're going to mix this for about 2 to 3 minutes and then come in with our lukewarm water. Okay, so I think we've let this go for long enough. It's nice and fluffy and everything is well mixed together. Now this is really important. You have to be able to get this dough perfect, and the good thing about doing it here is that it saves you a couple extra minutes, because from here you can make your little balls out and then start frying shortly after. But if you're doing it by hand, I would say let it rest a little bit and then come back in on it. So we're going to put back this very little by little, because you want this dough not to be sticky. You want a nice, firm, smooth, kind of soft dough, right? Nice and light and happy. Please be happy when you're making this fry bake. I'm always very happy when my mom makes this for me. Alright, so we're going to continue this on a high speed to get that dough nice and smooth, and then we're going to form our little sized fry bake balls. So as we were adding our water and getting our dough to hug the hook, we put a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar, because you know we have to flavor up the thing, right? Good. So now, do you see it? Oh, our dough is all around the hook. Great. And now I'm going to prepare my little fry bake balls. Lightly, very lightly flour your counter and this little dish that I'm going to store them in so it doesn't stick. I'm going to get my dough out. I like to do it like that because I think it's more fun that way. Or maybe I just wild and childish, who knows. So again, not being too tight with the dough, we make some little balls like this and we store it in the dish. What I like about this recipe in particular is you can store these in the freezer for anytime use. It takes about maybe 5 to 8 minutes to defrost, and you can have fresh fry bakes anytime you want. So I'm gonna finish these up and we're gonna get ready to fry. Finally, we can fry these bakes, or floats as some people call them. So I am going to again gently flour my surface. I have some vegetable oil, nice and hot, and I'm just going to roll this out, not too thick, not too thin either, because we don't want biscuits. Right, into some nice rounds. There we go. See it. And we lay away from you for safety. Into our oil. Now at this point it's going to bubble up, then you let it float up to the top, and I have a little trick that I will show you when you want it to swell up, as we say, at the top, right? So we're waiting for it to float up just a little bit. Make sure that your oil is nice and hot and ready to go, because if you put it in too soon, it's going to soak up some of that oil. Now, I'll tell you what my memory of this fry bacon cheese thing is. It was an incident that happened in Trinidad and Tobago, and my mom and I were rushing home because there was a curfew. This is just my memory of it. And I remember we stopped in the shop and we bought some stuff and we went home, and she was explaining to me why we had to rush home, and she made this fry bake and cheese thing, and I think from there I just loved it from that time. Right, so now that it's floating up, you want to baste the top of your fry bake with the oil. This will help cook the top, and this really doesn't take long. This is not something you can just walk away from and come back. So you're gently putting the oil all over the top, and it's going to swell up, and then you flip it, get a little color on that side, and then your bakes are pretty much done. Now, cheese is my favorite, and I'd love to know what your favorite is. What do you have with your hot fry bakes? And would you be freezing it like I suggested? Try freezing it, because then you'll always have fresh fry bakes, and who doesn't love fresh fry bakes? Alright, so this is about good. I'm going to flip this over, get a little color on it. We're going to fry up the rest of these bakes. Somebody is going to grate that cheese for me today, because I don't like to grate cheese. So we'll be back. Swoop. And like I said, I like mine with cheese, so I'm going to fill this up with cheese. You know what would be really good with this? Some hot chocolate. You know, the one that is great, the cocoa tea. That's actually my birthday breakfast every year. And I'm not a young person per se, so my parents have been doing this for years and years and years for me, and I still get it today. So I think the next thing we have to make is some hot cocoa tea. It don't have the mummy toucher, but it will do. So good. Guys, always a pleasure having you in the kitchen. Follow me on Instagram and stay updated with these trendy Caribbean and traditional recipes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and of course look out for our website where you can get all the recipe details. It's been great. Have a wonderful day. Bye.